Listen up or run for cover. Dropping knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Brad Lee is dropping
What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, I've got a gentleman that's been around for a long time, kicking booty, and for probably the last, 20 years, helping others kick booty.
30 years. Been in business for 31 years.
31 years. Folks, welcome Jeff Cowan to the show.
Thank you very much, Brad. How are you today?
Man, if I was any better, I'd be twins, Jeff.
That's great. That's great. I don't know if the world could handle that.
Well, I bet they could, and I bet they would love to see more people like me in the world. I mean, all my life, I was kind of a screw-up, but as soon as I hit 30 years old, man, I kind of woke up, changed my ways, changed my mindset, changed my belief, and started kicking butt and realizing that I'm a hoe. I'm a hoe, and I think more people need to be a hoe. HO was an acronym, H-O, for help others.
I like that.
Yep, you want to be a hoe.
So I guess that I'm a hoe.
You are a hoe.
I'm going to go home and tell my wife that. I think she'll like that.
Yeah, dude, we're hoes, man. And everyone should try to be a hoe, which is H-O, help others. People don't understand that's the key to success, man. When you try to help other people solve their problems, you can charge money for it, and that ultimately becomes a business. And when you're focused on helping others, being a hoe, you end up making all the money just like a hoe.
Well, you know, you're exactly right. And as you say that, it makes me want to share a story with you if you want to hear a story.
Please.
Because it's helping others is what got me, and I think most of the speakers and trainers that do sales training like I do, motivational training, leadership training, they do it because they want other people to experience the same things they have, or at least have the opportunity to do that if they so choose. And I'll tell you when it really all came home to me, the value in doing that. Two things. The story does two things. Number one, it shares the value in helping others, but it also shows the power, the raw power of being a great salesperson. And here's the story. I'll never forget going back to 2009, April 19th. I remember like it was yesterday. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. My wife had not been sleeping. My new wife, the love of my life. I've been married to her now for almost 15 years. We'd only been married 18 months at that point in time. I know she wasn't sleeping, so I got up 1 o'clock in the morning, April 19th, 2009, and I said, "What's wrong?" She simply looked up at me and she asked, "Are we going to be okay?" Now, you take a guy, you know me, and you take a guy like me with the tight size ego I have, and the woman that he loves, the woman of his dreams, ask him, "Are we going to be okay?" It was soul-crushing, but I was really proud of myself when she asked that question because of the way I responded, and it really was a big turning point in my life. And let me walk you to how we got to her asking that question, because, see, my wife is not a dumb woman. And up to that point, up to the 2008 recession, you know, at that point, we'd been in business for nearly 20 years, and we were just printing money. I was really tied to the car industry. I mean, I couldn't miss. I had several manufacturers under contract. I was doing workshops literally every day. I think in 2007, I topped it out with doing 300 workshop days in the year. I mean, that's a lot, right? So we're doing a lot of things right, helping a lot of people and the like. And then 2008, September that year, everybody knows the Great Recession started, right? Well, my wife had, you know, at that time when it started, we'd been married about a year. She was helping me out with the business, and so she knew what was going on. So by the time that recession hits, two of my biggest customers filed bankruptcy, Chrysler and Chevrolet. She saw the book, so here we are, April 2009. She knew that the phone wasn't ringing, nobody was taking my calls, and what she was really asking is, you going to be able to deliver on your promise? Are we going to be okay? We going to eat tomorrow? We going to be able to keep the house? That's what she was asking. And the way I responded, I didn't miss a beat. It was real life-changing for me. I looked at her and I said, you know what? As far as Jeff Cowan's Pro Talk goes, because that's the name of my company, I don't know. I think we're going to be okay. I see light at the end of the tunnel. I think the next 90 days is going to tell everything, and I think we'll be okay. but I don't know. But let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the things that Pro Talk allowed us to do. I mean, because we dated for quite a while before we got married. Look at all the places we got to go, the people we got to meet, the places we got to stay. That's what we want to focus on, because nobody will ever be able to take that away from us. But as far as the success of the company moving forward, I don't know. But here's what I do know. You married a salesperson. And you married a great salesperson. I know how to move a lot of product. I know how to move, and I know how to hold a lot of gross profit. And I can tell you that whether times are good or bad, the first person every business looks for is a great salesperson. The last person to go from any business when times are hard is a great salesperson. So I don't know what's going to happen to Pro Talk, but I know this. When I walked you down that aisle 18 months ago and told you to pick out the house you wanted, if this is the house you want, it's not going anywhere. We'll be okay. I told you to pick out the type of car that you wanted to drive. There's 3 of them in the driveway. If those are the ones you want, they're not going anywhere. I told you you'd never have to worry about food. You'd never have to worry about clothing, and you're not going to have to worry about any of that because you married a salesperson, and I know how to make money, and I know how to show others how to make money. And somebody will see that and will pay me very well for that. And it was a very defining moment, because at that point in time, apparently it's what she needed to hear, because she rolled over, she went to sleep, and she slept fine ever since. But
Well,
for
if
me,
she heard what she needed to hear, she wouldn't have rolled over and went to sleep.
well, it's that, and we got one of those sleep number beds. You ever had one of those?
No, not yet.
Yes, we can set up each side different numbers. I got mine set on 60. She's got hers currently set on hateful. But she sleeps well. But I'll tell you what it did for me. What it did for me is that it was redefining, because I was rattled at that point in time. I didn't know. But I got up the next morning and I knew that I was a salesperson, and I knew I had nothing to worry about, and I knew I could show other people how to do that. I was a hoe, I guess, and I knew that people would pay for that. Now, the reason I'm sharing that story is because there's a lot of your audience out there that maybe they're in sales, and they're not sure if this is the right thing for them. They're not sure it's the right path. There's a lot of people listen to your thing. They're saying, you know what, he's got a lot of people come there and talk about being in the selling world. Is it something for me? If it feels right, I say do it, because there's a lot of power in being a great salesperson. You'll never be unemployed in the United States of America if you're a great salesperson. And here's the kicker. I'm not against college. I think college is great for a lot of people. I personally didn't go, but you can walk out of high school, you can get into the sales profession and make whatever you want. You want to talk about job security? Show people that you know how to move product and hold gross profit, and they will pay through the nose. I mean, so, going back again with that story, it was just life-changing for me, because from that point, we never looked back. Within 30 days, Pro Talk was back on top, and we've never been better than we are right now. My sales career has never been better, and I've got more people coming to me asking for advice. And I don't mean that to sound pretentious, so I apologize to your audience if I do, because I'm an Indiana boy from the cornfields of Indiana. And I mean, I came from nothing and had nothing, so I'm not saying that. But there's more people that come to me today to help them out than ever in the past. And and I think it's because of the confidence of that night.
Strong as mules' breath.
There you go.
That story is the reason I wanted you on the show. Because, folks, let me just tell you, it's all belief and mindset, is it not?
Well, it is. Everybody out there, it's crazy. We live in this Amazon world. Everybody wants to be Amazon. Everybody wants to be able to get up in the morning, turn on their computer, watch sales go through the roof, and then not have to do anything. And so they're all looking for their silver bullets. They're all looking for the magic touch. They're all looking for the one thing. And what they don't realize is that they are the silver bullet. Now, especially if you're in sales. I mean, if you're in sales, you got to think of it this way. Everybody wants to be Amazon, and I would love it if I could make myself Amazon, but you can't, because the facts of the matter are that in sales, especially, 86% of all sales, I don't know if you've heard this or not, but 86% of all sales that are made on a daily basis in the United States of America require face-to-face contact or voice-to-voice contact. So where do you get that from? You don't get it from a computer, okay? You get it from a person. It's the person that's the silver bullet. Now, I love technology. I think technology is something you can use to make you better and make yourself stand out, make yourself more efficient. But it's not going to replace the value of a salesperson. We're years and years and years away from that, I think.
Long time.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're looking for silver bullet, folks, go look in the mirror.
So what would you say is the number one rule a salesperson should master?
They have to master. I don't know if you can bring it down to one thing, But I think it's having the ability to look in the mirror and critique yourself hard. Don't listen to your own press. You have to believe in education. And when I say education, I'm not saying you have to go spend $1 million on a college, but you should budget. You know, I found that the salesperson that budgets for training every year will continue to have a budget, you know what I mean, to work with. So you constantly have to train yourself. I mean, I've been doing this for 31 years, and let me share something with you. I don't know if it's smart for me to share this or not, but just last year, I took $15,000 of my own money. Now, keep in mind, I've been on thousands of stages in front of thousands of people. I took $15,000 of my money, and I went into a 2-day school to learn how to be a better speaker.
That's right.
You want to know why? Because I don't know everything, and I'm never going to know everything. And the only way you can know it is you have to train yourself. Training will get you to where you want to go. Training will keep you there once you're there, and training will keep you fresh once you're there. So you know, I guess if I was to bring it down to one thing, it would be that right there. You have to count and rely on yourself. You are your silver bullet.
Invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself
Repeatedly.
all the time.
Training isn't something you did, it's something you do.
You know, you coined that phrase, I don't know how many years ago, and it's one that I steal. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you right now, I say that on almost every stage I'm on, and if I feel like it, I give you credit. And unfortunately, most days I don't feel like it. So most people, my groups think I said it. But you're right. It's not something you did. It's something you do. I mean, I got up this morning. I train myself. I'm getting ready when I leave here to go to convention to make a presentation I've made 150 times before. I've got this thing nailed. But you know what I'm going to do? I scheduled 2 hours in a room to go over that 1 hour presentation to make sure that it's flawless when I get up there. You want to know why? Because it's only been 2 weeks since I've done it, but that's a long time and gives you to forget stuff. And so
You can get rusty.
You do. You know, you want to be the best. You gotta practice like the best. And you know, when it comes to training as well, this is something else that just always kills me. You know, the people that we idolize in life, the sports figures, right? The movie stars. I mean, who wouldn't want to be Tom Cruise, right? I mean, who wouldn't want to be Andrew Luck? Who wouldn't want to be, right? But the one thing that those people do to get there, the ones that we spend thousands of dollars to watch and wish we could be, the one thing they do to get there is train, and the average person refuses to do that. And it's the simplest and easiest part of their equation. Train, 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 train.
Why is that, do you think?
In what regard? What do you mean?
Why do you think people refuse to train?
Because I think they're looking for an easier way. Unfortunately, you know, I don't want to pin it to any, you know, one group, but I think today that society's gotten very lazy, you know, because of all the technology, you know, but, you know, with just simple stuff, you know, before if there was a word that I didn't understand, I would have to get out of my chair, walk over to a bookshelf and pick up a dictionary and look it up. Today I can Google it in seconds. I mean, everything's instantaneous, and so it's made us very lazy, and it's a very lazy society, and it's kind of, we've reached a point right now where it's tragic for businesses because, you know, people just become they're so lazy to the point that most people don't even know how to hold a conversation eye to eye because they've stared at their phone. I mean, communication is almost a lost art.
How important do you think eye contact is?
Oh, I think it's extremely important. You know, there's a book that I've written that's going to come out in about 3 months. We've got a couple international publishers looking at it, called The Forgotten Rules of Professional Salesmanship. And eye contact is one of the 32 things that we'll be talking about in that book. I mean, eye contact's everything, and the average person can't do it.
Yeah, most people will not look people directly in the eyes when they're talking, or they'll get shifty and look around. I think it's based in insecurity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you're not confident in what you're saying, you're not confident in yourself, and they're not, because see, when you take people, and you know, it used to be just a thing, it was the kids because that's all they did, but it's become adults now. Adults who were great communicators and great at holding eye contact can no longer do it because they're out of practice, right? And when you're not comfortable doing something, then what do you lack? Confidence. You know, and people can smell that from a mile away, whether it's a social setting, whether it's a religious setting, or whether it's a business setting, or whatever it is, social event.
Now, you wrote a book about the Indy 500, didn't you?
Yes, I did, and I'll brag about it for a second. It's the number one selling business book ever written about the Indy 500. It's called What I've Learned from Attending Over 35 Indy 500s. It's lessons in sales, motivation, leadership, and management. It's the number 3 all-time best-selling book in regards to Indy 500, and it's doing very well. In that we talk about some of the very things we're talking about now. I didn't go to college. I was raised in a household where I was loved. We never, we always had food, we always had clothes, but we were not rich. We lived hand to mouth. And so college growing up to us was for rich kids and smart kids. And my dad being an ex-drill instructor, I was neither. So that was never talked about. So what I did is I tried to look for places to learn stuff, and one of those places I found was the Indy 500. I lived, from Indianapolis, 15 miles from the track, and so what I did with this book is I took things that I saw happen on the track, and the lesson that I learned from it, and then I explained what the lesson was by that happening, by that scenario, and then I showed how I used it in my life to become better at what I did, and then I give people points to ponder. And it's a quick read, and it's done so well. We've actually turned it into a video program that you can get on the Lightspeed platform. There you go. Yeah, $49 one time if you're an individual, and people love it. And the video part of it is doing very well because people like hearing the stories, because you can listen to it in your car, you can listen to them over and over. But on the Lightspeed platform, you can actually test yourself to see how you would do. So it's a fun book. It was a great exercise and a lot of stuff in there. If you're a salesperson, you're a manager, a leader, there's something in there for everybody.
You're gonna go every single year till you're dead?
When I got married, there was three things. When I got married this time, I should say, there were three rules, and that was I want to have one more child. I'm never going to live in Southern California, and I'm never going to miss the Indy 500. So don't die, don't have babies, don't graduate, do anything on the Indy 500 if you want me to be there, because I'm going to the Indy 500. And so here we are 15 years later. I didn't have another kid. I'm living in Southern California, but by God, I'm still going to the Indy 500.
You got 1 out of 3.
Hey, I'll settle for that.
When you met her, did she want to live in Southern Cal?
She's from there, and she, in her defense, she was willing to move anywhere. As a matter of fact, we'd picked out a house in Phoenix, and then we were going to look at one in Indianapolis, and we're getting ready to get on the airplane, and she said, I'll move wherever you want, but I was born and raised in Southern California. That's where my family and friends are, and if we move to Indianapolis, you're going to move me to a place where I have no friends and family, and then get on an airplane and go to work. So if you'll move to Southern California until you stop traveling, I'll go anywhere once you stop traveling. So I took the bait, and I'm in Southern California, and then it hit me later on that I'm never going to retire. So
do you love it?
Southern California, I love the weather. I like the people where I live. We live in a nice little community called Coto de Casa, and the people there are good, hardworking people. A lot of people like me and you that are salespeople, business owners, and that type of stuff. So it's a very comfortable community. They really care about their kids, that type of stuff. Very religious.
Did you feel the earthquake?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the one that just happened was 200 miles away from our house. And it cracked up the floor in our bathroom upstairs.
Really?
Yeah, and then the one that came after it wasn't as long, but it was rougher. It threw water out of the pool. So the earthquake stuff's nothing to mess around with.
Do you have insurance for that?
Absolutely.
So they just fix it?
Yeah, pretty much. But it made me religious. Matter of fact, I went and got baptized after that, and I've been saved. And I promised that God that if He took care of me, that I would tell everybody that I'm now saved and I'm a Christian, and that's great news because I'm going to live in eternity forever. Bad news, though, if you don't like me and you go to heaven, you have to deal with me now in eternity, too. I ain't going away, folks.
You're going to be around no matter what.
There you go.
Who do people tell you look like?
It's the guy on William Macy.
Yeah, you look like a little like William Macy, don't you?
Yeah, especially
cross between him and David Letterman.
Remember the gap in the teeth? Letterman grew up.
You're a little Letterman-ish.
Letterman grew up, oddly enough, about 20 minutes from where I live, and went to the next high school over. And his mom, I don't know if she's still living, she lived just up the road from me when I lived in Indianapolis, and until he bought her a mansion.
Where's the best place you've ever lived?
Best place? Well, I've only lived in Indianapolis and in Southern California. It's tough now because I make fun of California because they're whacked out politics, and their taxes is just insane. I mean, that thing's got to implode. It doesn't pencil. I like the lifestyle out there. I like how relaxed people are, but Indianapolis is always home. The family's back there. The Indy 500's there.
You like it better?
Some of it I do, because you get the seasons. Going into fall, it's going to be beautiful there. I mean, fall happens for about 3 days in Southern
Are you
California.
guys pissed at old Manning?
At who?
Old Manning.
What do you mean?
Peyton.
Oh, for what?
Well, he ain't playing there no more.
Oh, he retired. I mean, that's and
I thought he went to the Broncos.
He went to the Broncos and played in 2 more Super Bowls, which is great. So it was.
Well, there's the rub.
Yeah, but you know what? I think it's a game. I mean, he didn't leave us. They fired him because they didn't think he was going to do anymore. But he went over there and had a few good years and played in 2 Super Bowls, won one of them. I mean, he was great, but I don't think anybody's mad. But that's the bad thing about being an athlete. See, he played as long as he could and he accomplished all that stuff. But when you're a salesperson, you never have to retire.
So are you a Colts fan?
I was. I come from a little bit of a military background. I put the NFL on hold right now, and until they get a hold of their business and support America a little bit better, I don't feel the need to support them. They exercise their right to let people protest, and I appreciate that. I like that because I love the United States of America, and that's what you can do. I exercise my right to not have to watch that. It's wrong. They should do what the NBA did. If you want to play, then you stand up for the national anthem. You want to protest, go do that on your time. And those protests that they're having would have had much more impact on me had they done it that way than the other way around. That said, I'm the odd man out because the NFL is as popular as it's ever been. So, but I
don't think so.
Yeah, I
don't think it's as popular as it's ever been. I don't watch as much football. I watch more hockey now.
Oh, hockey's a blast, and that's what's cool. See, hockey players get it. It's a Canadian sport. They come down here, and when they play the national anthem for the United States and Canada. You go to Canada, they play the national anthem for Canada and the United States. You want to know why? Because people know those 2 flags represent us. That gives them the right to play. I mean, I don't care if anybody protests. It's just the wrong place to do it. That fencer a couple weeks ago. We pay all this money for him to go play in the Pan Am Games, and he wants to badmouth us in another country. The soccer star over in Europe, they win the whole thing, and she wants to she goes to foreign soil and puts down the country that gave her the opportunity to do that. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this in your show or not, but kiss my ass. I mean, there's people laying in the mud right now. Your kids, brothers, sisters, fathers, aunts, uncles, grandparents laying in the mud right now, willing to die for what that flag represents. And you want to do that? Protest all you want, folks. I don't care. I protest from time to time. I just signed a petition the other day in our for some things, but
no more prunes.
There's a place to do it, and there's a right way to do it, and yeah, I know it sucks getting older.
Dude,
just wait. Go ahead and make fun of me. See, one day you're gonna be my age.
I'm already your age.
No, you're not.
I'm 50, bro.
Well, add 8 years and you'd be my age.
You're 58?
Yeah.
Ah, you still look good.
Yeah.
You ain't even got no wrinkles yet.
Yet. They're coming.
Well, dude.
Well, the parts that you see aren't wrinkled.
Yeah, but if I'm looking good at 58, I'll be happy.
Brad, I can't imagine you looking bad at any age.
Oh, dude, it's already happening. You see the forehead starting to wrinkle up. Better go look into some Botox.
See, I never think of you as I see you as looking wise.
Rugged.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Gray-haired, rugged, distinguished, all that good stuff. But the wrinkles got to stay away. Listen, I want to find out about sales.
It's all about Ancestry, right? Have you ever done that thing, Ancestry.com?
No, I ordered 2 kits, but I never did it.
I did it.
I got to do it.
I did it.
What'd you find out?
As a matter of fact, I just got the thing back before I got on the airplane to come over here, as a matter of fact. And I opened up the letter, was all excited, and here's what it said. You're an ass. I paid $99 for that. I mean, my ex-wife told me that. I already knew that. That's all it said. You're an ass. $99.
That's funny. You're a funny one, Jeff.
Well, usually if it's funny, people laugh, and you didn't laugh, so.
Well, that's why your events get packed. Because
we make it fun.
You tell jokes, you make it fun.
I think a smart trainer today would be smart to set up their business. I call it trainertainment. I mean, you want to get the facts out there, and we get them out there. You want to have the moments that are eye-opening moments where the light bulb comes on. I mean, all that stuff's there, but you've got to make it fun, and so you got to be a little bit of an entertainer, I think. And if you really want to capture the audience and keep them, I mean, we live in today, and really, it's kind of always been that way. If you go back to the Zig Ziglar days, which he was my idol growing up, him and Tom Hopkins, and Ziglar was always
Zig
fun.
Ziglar said, "The best way to get what you want is to help others get what they want."
So he was a hoe too?
He was a hoe.
Wow, I never knew that about
Dude,
him.
I'm going to make that famous.
I think you should.
I'm going to make everybody a hoe, because if you just become a hoe,
There you go.
help others, I guarantee you life will get better. Even if it doesn't get better financially, it'll definitely get better in every other way. Like satisfaction from helping other people, I don't necessarily know you can match that any other possible way.
No, some of the greatest moments in my life have been, people come up and 20 years after they're in a class and say, I'm doing this because of this one thing you said, or when somebody comes up and says, make sure you tell the story because it's so impactful. But and then I'm thankful for people like you, and I don't mean to sound like I'm sucking up, because folks, I'm his customer, so I don't have to suck up to him. It should be the other way around. But I'm thankful for guys like you. I mean, you've helped me so much, because when in the early years when you were formulating Lightspeed and you had a few customers, I signed up with you, and you just didn't sign me up and say, here you go and let me do it. I mean, you've been there at every turn. That's one of the things I like about you, is especially in the early days, we could call up and you will come on over, we'll do this, and you were very understanding, because at first I really wasn't comfortable in front of cameras and that type of stuff, and you really helped, and you really helped develop that part of my business. And I will tell you this, I was telling you the story earlier about 2009, and the one thing, if you were going to ask me what was the one thing that really helped me survive all that, it was Lightspeed. And the reason is because people were under contract. Some of these big corporations, a lot of individual users were under contract to pay me money every month, for the training. And so, it was very comforting waking up knowing you could walk out to the mailbox the first of every month and there was going to be a check there come hell or high water. And so, and you told me that would happen. So, you helped me out a lot. You've been a great asset. I don't know that I would have reached the levels that I've reached today without Lightspeed.
Well, it wasn't necessarily me. It was the fact that you were on demand and scalable, and people want knowledge, man. To go back to when you said people don't really like to train. Here's why I think people don't like to train. Because what they're doing isn't training. They think it is, and it doesn't work very well.
Right.
So people get tired of throwing good money after bad, or bad money after good, however you want to say it. And ultimately what they're doing is they're exposing people to information. They're not necessarily, quote unquote, training them.
Right.
If you train somebody like a top athlete is trained, if you train somebody like the military is trained, like if you look at what trained actually means, there is repetition, practice, and accountability.
Right.
And usually in those workshops or the keynotes and the stage things that I do and you do, we talk for an hour, we give great information, so we've got the good content, but there is no repetition, there is no practice, and there is no accountability. People are out there taking notes. We don't even test them. We don't even figure out if they actually heard what we wanted them to hear or picked up what we wanted them to pick up. And then we leave with our big fat checks.
Right.
I don't know about you, but like I'm getting $25,000 a keynote. I'll take 10 sometimes. Sometimes I'll do it for free. But they're paying me decent frickin' money to show up
That's not bad.
and talk for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's taking notes, and they text me and tell me I changed their life and yada yada. And I'm thinking, dude, imagine if they were actually trained.
Oh yeah.
Because training requires 4 things: good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. So by definition, if you look at the top athletes, the top military forces, the top executives, the top companies, whoever, Chick-fil-A has a huge training program. It's repetition, man. Every day, all day. It's not something you did, it's something you do, and you got to hold people accountable. You got to hold yourself accountable. So that's why I don't think people really train as much. It would be like if you went to the gym and worked out and never saw any results, you'd eventually quit. You'd eventually say, this isn't working. Well, what would you do if you kind of rewind the tape and you notice that when you went to the gym, you did 1 curl, 1 bench, and then talked to the receptionist the whole time. And then every time you left, you'd literally think you're working out, but in reality, you weren't.
That's what I like about, a couple comments on that. So that's what I like about Lightspeed, because since we're on there, we have a lot of people sign up for that, a lot of business sign up for that, and there's no hiding it anymore. you were either online watching it or you weren't. You either passed the test or you didn't. And if it takes you 3, 4, 5, 6 times to pass the test, nobody cares. But at least you're training right. I mean, there's no hiding it anymore, and it covers that. Another reason I think people don't train a lot is because there's a lot of training out there. At the risk of sounding pretentious here, there's a lot of training out there that's just bad training, and most of it comes from manufacturers who think they know how to do something. A lot of it comes from business owners who think that they've got good training. And it's like anything else, you know. You wouldn't go to your general practitioner if you broke your ankle. You'd go to an ankle doctor, right? You know, that thing. And so I think, you know, a lot of the internal training is just not good. And so you need to go outside the box and go to the pros. But even when you go to the pros, some of these guys, you know, I remember when I put out my first book. It's called Right Service, Write Your Own Paycheck: The Path to Making $100,000. It's to show service advisors that work at car dealerships, you know, how to sell. Well, my competition all had books out before me, and their books, the closest one to it was 3 times the size of mine. So when I put this out, everybody was like, well, it's a small book. And I said, because what I'm doing in the book is showing your people how to do the job. There's not a bunch of theory in there. There's not a bunch of this. It's how to do the job. And I think that's what's made my training so valuable to a lot of people not to turn it back to me, but over the years, is because when they come to see a workshop, they know when they leave they're going to have all the tools they need. We focus on it. We make it fun, but we focus on it. So I think another reason people don't do it is there's a lot of training out there that's not very good, you know, and so they get a bad taste in their mouth and they don't want to go back, you know.
Yeah, well, the 4 ingredients are good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. So the good content's what's screwed up in that story.
Yeah, I mean that's
if someone teaches you effectively to do it wrong, and you'll do it wrong.
And the reason I bring that up is you know, you get on the internet. I you know, for years and years and years, everybody taking care of my social media. So here recently, I started really getting into it, trying to figure out exactly what's all there and all that type of stuff. I don't know if I'm smart to admit that, but I'm stunned at the people on there who teach people how to sell, and the information they're giving, they'll tell you, hey, I'm going to show you how to do this, and then they never get to it, or they give you some whacked out way. And so you got all these talking heads out there that think they're helping people, and their heart might be in the right place, and their head might be in the right place, but their content is just not good. It's not solid. So I think there's a lot of people that say, you know, I'm getting training for free. No, you're getting somebody to talk to you about something. You know, somebody that writes training is all in. You know, they're not doing it as a side job. You know,
yeah, or you know, if you find a successful way to go, and you want to document it, then you can, you know, put a training. But I think what you're saying, there's a lot of people out there that are claiming that they're training or sales experts when they're not even.
No, there's a guy online the other day I was watching. He's been in car sales for 6 months. And so he's on there, hey, if you're new to the business, let me show you what I did in 6 months. And so I did a little bit of research. And it may sound like a lot when you say 6 months, but the guy sold 50 cars. Now, 50 cars sounds like a lot, but when you divide that out over 6 months, it's what, 8 cars a month, 9 cars a month? That's not a lot of cars. I mean, that's very average. I mean, as a matter of fact, it's just enough to keep you employed at a car dealership. You know, and here's a guy here giving advice, and he's very convincing. You know, he's a good-looking kid. And he's energetic and that type of stuff, but I mean, you know, it's just not structured. It's not good. It's just not good advice. I don't think he's the right guy. But there's a lot of people that will listen to him and think that they're getting good training, and they'll go off and get into sales without the good training. They may not, you know, succeed, and it was a missed opportunity for everybody. So you got to have the content. You have to practice, drill. I guess I say the same thing you do. I always just said it with a different acronym: PDR, practice, drill, rehearse, practice, drill, rehearse. But you have to have the content to do that.
You also need accountability.
You need a lot of accountability. I mean, that's the one thing. You know, me and my wife rarely argue.
And when you do, it's your fault.
It's always my fault. I'm, you know, happy wife, happy life. So yeah, but the one thing that she's always on my back about, she says, you're too hard on yourself. You're too hard on yourself. You need to give yourself a break. You're too hard on yourself. And I just look at her and say, if I'm not tough on myself, who's gonna be? You know, who's gonna be? You know, I've got one shot when I walk on the stage this afternoon in front of these 300 people to prove that I know something. You know, and if you blow it, you blow it. You know, so I mean,
do you second guess yourself a lot?
No, I try to do research before I get into something, so I know what I'm doing, and then when I get there, I'm ready to go.
Are you obsessed with perfection?
Yes. You get one shot.
Do you like to? Well, sometimes you get 2.
If you're lucky.
Sometimes you get 2.
I mean, guys like you get endless opportunities,
Well, dude, I think opportunities are everywhere, and I
They are.
don't believe you only get one shot. I think there are times where you only get one shot. That is a fact, but I don't think
Well-
that's something that is like a fact. I think it was talked about because you should be prepared and you should give it your best. But I think someone that said you only get one shot was
Well, what I meant-
like
well, let me-
scaring people.
Well, that's a little bit out of context. What I meant was when I walk in front of this group today of 300 people, I've got one shot with them. I don't know that I'll ever have the opportunity to be in front of that group again in my life. So I've got one shot with that group to make it right. That's what I meant. Now, that said, I'm going to make the same presentation between now and the end of the year in front of another 15 groups. So I've got another shot, okay? But with this group today, I mean, I don't know who's in this audience. There could be a guy sitting there with an open checkbook for $1 billion, and if I screw it up, I miss my opportunity. So that's what I meant there. No, you got all kinds of opportunities. I think 2008, the recession proved that. That was another opportunity. A lot of people went out of business then, and it was probably, in some ways, for guys like me, it was a good thing because when you thought all the opportunities were over, I saw a whole bunch of new opportunities open up, and it showed you that, I had that shot before, but I've got it again, and it's actually a better shot because I'm better prepared for it. So I agree with you on that.
I know you like wine, Jeff. You're a bit of a wino.
Yeah, the reason we are is because me and the wife several years ago discovered when you go, there's two things you can't take with you: your money and your liver. So I figure we're just going to use them both. I mean, how sad would it be to get to heaven and have a perfect liver? You got to get a new one anyway. So yeah,
Well,
I drink wine.
What's your favorite wine?
It bounces all over the page. There's a couple right now. There's one that's just came out. It came out last year called Austin Hope. It's a great little cab. There's another one. There's a Merlot. I'm not a big Merlot fan, but this one kind of tastes like a cab. It's called Imaloo. That's a great one. Pinot, if you like Pinot, I drink those in the summer. Right now there's one called Bowen, Boen, Bowen. That's a nice little Pinot. So yeah.
How do you find it?
Well, if you live in California, you just walk out in the front yard. It's just sitting there. It's all over the place. So just go to the wine stores.
But do you go tasting?
Here and there, not really. We've got we're lucky enough that there's a little restaurant in town where we live called Hannah's, and they've got a very deep wine list. And me and the wife, we go there quite a bit with our friends, and it's kind of like our social place to hang out. And we got a wine locker, so when you have that, the owner comes over whenever you've got new wines, and he lets us taste it, that type of stuff. So that's more our gig.
What's your favorite wine?
Of all time?
Yes.
It's really hard to get a hold of, but it's called Camus 40.
Mm-hmm. Camus 40.
Really hard to get a hold of.
Didn't I send you some of that?
No, you want to know the story on that? Here's the story, folks. Here we go. Here's some insight to Brad Lee. So he calls me up one year because I come over here to Las Vegas and I take him out and I get him some couple bottles of Camus 40, and he loves it. Right? He loves it. And so I had a great year that year. Brad makes a lot of money off of Jeff. So he calls me up and says, "Hey, for Christmas, I'm sending you a case of Camus 40. It's going to be on your front doorstep here in the next week." So the first week we wait for the wine. The second week we wait for the wine. Here we are, 5 years later, we're still waiting on the wine. I call my old friend Brad, or next time I'm over 3 months after he makes that phone call, say, "Hey, what happened to that Camus wine?" He said, "Well, I had it in the office, I was going to ship it, and so came in, so I said, let's drink a bottle of that. Cowan only needs 11. And then later that day, somebody else came in and said, "What's 2 bottles missing?" He said, "I looked up about 2 weeks later, and the whole case was gone." He said, "So I can just tell you this, the case I got you, thanks for letting me enjoy it."
Well, now I remember, but and that is the truth. However, I thought there was more to get. I didn't know it was limited.
Well, yeah, all wine technically is limited because they bring it up for that year. There's that vintage.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
but
nobody
that
knows.
was good wine. But
It's
you know,
okay. If
I
you had a
found
good time, that's all.
I found a replacement.
What's it called?
Camus Special Select.
Oh, no, that's a fine wine.
Yeah, it's good.
Do you know? And I know that. As a matter of fact, it's your wife's favorite wine. Do you know how she discovered it?
Because they were out of 40.
No.
Yeah.
Because you had a Super Bowl party, and I brought a bottle of wine over. She told me the story last time I saw her. She said, "You brought the wine over. I didn't know what Camus was, so we put it in the back of the thing. We were having a dinner party one night, so I needed a bottle of wine. I pull it out, and we drank it, and it was the best wine I've ever had, so it became her favorite bottle of wine." That's at least the story your wife
You
told
brought
me.
the Special Select?
To your house, to the Super Bowl party. And that's how she discovered it. That's what she told me.
Well, that may be the truth. I thought we went, because downstairs at the Hostel Grape, at the M over there, we always go down there because they got nice wine. And we were drinking the 40, every time we went there, it was like Camus 40.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day they didn't have it. And so someone else was like, get Farniente or get Opus One or because my favorites they used to be Farniente.
That's a great wine.
Yeah, then I tasted the Camus 40. It was like, man, this is delicious. So we stuck with that.
Half the price.
And then when they were gone, I'm like, damn, so let's go back to Farniente. And I thought that's when we discovered Camus Special Select. But what you're saying makes more sense.
That's what your wife
Because
said.
she knew about it. Well, that's probably why, because she's like, hey, do you have any Select? I'm like,
It was real funny when she told the story. She goes, I really thought the wine was just a cheap wine because people usually bring cheap wine. I drank it. I go, this is really great. She goes, and I got online and looked at it and realized that you brought to the Super Bowl party a $120 bottle of wine. And I said, well, I don't do that for everybody, but I do it for my good friend Bradley and his wife.
well, it was the best move you ever
You
made.
like nickel and nickel?
Well, it's Farniente.
I know, but it's still good.
I only drink Camus Special Select.
No kidding. Well, I'll have another Super Bowl party and I'll bring another bottle.
Now, I'll tell you, someone brought a bottle the other day.
Did they really?
But not because, they were trying to impress us, but because I keep talking about Special Select. So they brought one. It's $9. Now, this guy's a distributor, so it might be
Right.
$9 for him, but it's $20 for someone else. I don't know, but go check it out. It's actually the grandson, and the wine's called Bonanza.
Oh, yeah?
Have you ever heard of it?
No, I've not, but I'll look it up.
And if you look at the label, you see the Camus vineyards on the truck, on the label, and that's the grandson. And I'm telling you, it's not as big as the Select, that bold flavor.
Right.
But, dude, it tastes just like Camus Special Select without the bite.
I'll have to check it out.
It's called Bonanza, dude. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
The best wines don't have to be the most expensive. Camus 40, when it first came out, was $39 a bottle.
Dude, Camus 40 was unbelievable.
It was.
But Camus Special Select is now our go-to.
Well, I'll tell you how to get wine cheaper.
How?
Okay. Most places do this. Like I said, we have the wine locker. So we have the wine locker not only because we go up there to that restaurant a lot and we use it, but at that restaurant, and I believe Capital Grill does this and a few others, if you have a wine locker, they'll let you buy it, the wine that you put in there, at their cost. So like when I haven't bought Camus Select in a while, but if I was to go buy it from there, I think he's got it on his menu for like probably $225. He pays $65 or $70 a bottle, which is still a lot of money for a bottle of wine. I get that, you know what I mean?
No way,
But-
dude. I paid
but-
$140, $150.
Yeah, so you get it. So that's why we have some of the nicer wines is because my favorite, those three wines I mentioned, I don't think there was one of them that was more than $60 a bottle, which is still a lot. And I'm not opposed to drinking the Camus Selects for special occasions, or the Farnientes, or the nickel and that type of stuff. But
What about the Opus One?
it's not my gig.
You don't like Opus?
It's not that I don't like it. I just don't think it's that special. I think it's.
Have
more
you
of
ever
a-
had? It is called. I think it's Enigma.
Oh yeah, Enigma's good.
That one was good.
Yeah.
And then someone brought one over the other day called, I believe. Oh boy, I found out it was like $600 bottle.
I don't know if I'd buy one of those for you, Brad.
Well, I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Like $600, and
Yeah.
guess what? Wasn't as good as Camus.
But most of the time, the bigger ones aren't.
So why are they so expensive?
If you want to try another one, it's around the $100 mark. Is Paul Hobbs, depending on what it is, what vintage it is. But that's a good one. You'll like that.
You sure? Does
Yeah.
it taste like Camus Special Select?
Third bottle in, it does.
That's funny. So, Jeff, let me ask you a question. You got all these people hiring your company for the car dealerships. You're busting out. You're now out there training all kinds of different folks.
Right.
And you're about to like even venture further out where you'll train furniture stores. Who
Sure.
else? Anybody.
Anybody? Yeah,
Because you accidentally did well in the car business so you could teach service advisors. But throughout the last 31 years, meeting and greeting and all these people and learning everything, now you're ready to pretty much train anybody on mainly what? Sales and marketing? Sales, what?
sales. I'm looking for the individual salesperson that wants to get into sales and see what it's all about, or somebody that's already in it and wants to be the best they can be. We've always, when I was in the car business, 20% of my business always was outside the car industry. I just want to go exploit that. And I've got 2 books coming out that are going to support that in addition to the Indy 500 book. One is called Mastering the 6 Areas of Closing. Most people think there's just the one when you ask for the money, but there's actually 5 other areas you have to master. And then the book I referred to earlier, The Forgotten Rules of Professional Salesmanship. And it's for the general salesperson out there that's selling anything. It's very applicable to everything. And because sales, at the end of the day, let's just cut to the chase. There's only so many ways you can look at somebody and ask them to buy something.
I'm almost finished with my book.
Really, what's yours going to be called?
Living with a Large Penis.
Oh, well, there you go. I've heard that's a struggle.
It is.
I
Trust
wouldn't
me.
know.
Yeah, well, again, it's not something that they're fun to show, but that's about it.
Well, my wife says she lives with a large penis, but I don't think she's referring to parts of my body. I think she just means me.
How is Candy doing anyway?
She's doing great.
Is she in California or is she here?
She's retired now, and her full-time job is helping out with the grandkids and traveling around and hanging out with her friends. And
is she hanging out here with you this week or no?
No, she couldn't be here because she's going to a concert with some of her friends over in Newport Beach tomorrow night. See,
she's living. She's living the life.
Yeah, she's living life, man.
Because she's married to a salesman.
She's married to a salesperson. That's right.
Folks,
salespeople deliver.
Folks, if you want to be a salesperson or you are one and you want to take it to the next level, go check out Jeff Cowan. On Instagram, he's the Jeff Cowan, I believe.
Yep.
COWAN. Go give him a hashtag bomb squad. Let him know you heard the show. Go pick up his book on Amazon.
We're on LinkedIn. I do my daily tips of the day that are on LinkedIn, on Instagram, all that stuff.
Are you on YouTube?
Yes, we are.
Damn.
Everywhere.
Dude,
you know why I'm on there?
Why?
Because my good friend Brad Lee said I needed to be on there, so I got on there.
Well, I mean, it's a platform, and it's also a search engine.
Yep.
So if you think about it, YouTube is better than a lot of things because when you Google, who owns YouTube, you Google, if there's a video attached to that search, it comes up first.
Right.
So I know people that have YouTube channels with hardly any subscribers, but their SEO and their rankings on Google AdWords and things like that, always at the top because of video.
Right.
So it's the smart thing. If you guys are out there running a business, it's smart to invest in yourself. Learn from people like Jeff that have been out there grinding his face off for 31 years. And dude, listen, you've made a lot of mistakes, right?
Oh, I make mistakes every day.
So why does somebody always think that they have to? Because I had to think the hard way. I mean, I literally learned everything the hard way. Why do people think that they have to go learn for themselves when they can pick up a book or follow somebody or go deep with a mentor or a coach and spend a little money and accelerate their journey by years and save thousands and then also make 10 times more, but people can't get past a small investment?
You know, the most valuable lesson anybody ever taught me, because I sold furniture for a while, is that owner of that shop, her name was Bev Nelson, is she said...
Oh, Bev.
She said,
how you doing, Bev?
You don't have to reinvent the wheel. She said, all you have to do is find somebody who's done it already and mimic what they tell you to do. She was a big Zig Ziglar fan.
Now, why did you give Bev credit, but you won't give me credit?
Well, because you weren't there 40 years ago when I was doing that. She's the one that said that.
Oh.
But the thing was is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's one of my key parts of my presentations. They say, look, if you just got hired on by whatever company, then the thing you want to do is you want to glue yourself to the most, as a salesperson, you want to glue yourself to the most successful salesperson in the business. Because let's say that you're working at a business, the top guy or gal is making $120,000, the bottom person's making $60,000. Okay, what do we know about that business as far as the salespeople go? It'll pay $120,000. So what you want to do is it's not that you want to be rude to the people who aren't making that money, but you want to buddy up. And this person may not like you, so you might have to watch from a distance. But you want to mimic everything they're doing exactly the way they're doing it, because they've already invented the wheel. They've got the template for 120. And then when you match them and you're making 120, then you go look in the mirror and say, how can I take it to a bigger level? But what people don't understand is it's about, again, it goes back to it's you. You're the silver bullet. And when we were talking about not reinventing the wheel, let me show you. Ask if I made mistakes. Here's one where I tried to reinvent the wheel and the whole thing. I'll leave you with this. You know, when I left Indianapolis, it was extremely heartbreaking for me for a lot of reasons, and I was very excited about my new life. I was very excited about what was my wife and all that stuff. So don't get me wrong, but it was very sad because I was leaving my brothers behind, who I'm very close to, my sister, my mom, and my dad, and I have a daughter by the name of Rayleigh who was staying behind because she was in college. She was 20 years old at the time. She wanted to stay, so and she's actually an adopted daughter. But so I told her goodbye, and we promised that we'd call each other every week and we'd talk forever, right? So the first 6 months that I'm out in California, we call her every week. We talk all the time, right? And things are going great. The relationship's there and the whole thing. And then all of a sudden, the one phone call turned to one a week, turned to one every couple of weeks, and then it turned into an occasional email, and then I got down to a text here or there. And I woke up a year after that, and I didn't know her anymore, and the relationship was gone, and I was heartbroken because this relationship was extremely important to me. So what I did is I took some of my own advice and went to some very great dads, very great fathers that just have great kids. And this one in particular, he's a very good friend of mine by the name of Mark Strucker. He's got 4 beautiful daughters. They're all extremely intelligent girls, and they happen to have the looks as well. I mean, it's amazing that, you know, what this guy's done, him and his wife Janine. And I was telling him, I said, look, I'm losing this relationship with this girl. She's all these, and I don't want to lose this. I don't know what to do. And so he sat there and he asked me some questions and all that stuff. And when I got through telling him the story about how we were texting, we were barely talking, all that stuff, he just simply looked at me and he said, pick up the phone and call her. And I just kind of looked at him. I said, what? And he said, pick up the phone and call her. That's what works. That's what works with my family. That's what works with any family. That's what will work with you and her. It's all about communication. You're not communicating with her anymore. You went away from what worked, the phone call. Now go back to it. Pick up the phone and call her. So I literally went home that night and I picked up the phone and I called her. Now we're talking to each other on a weekly basis. The relationship's never been stronger, and it's all because of one reason. I didn't instead of reinventing the wheel like I tried to do, and texting was the way to go. I took a great father's advice. I picked up the phone, I called her, and I communicated with her. You know, sales and life in general has always been about communication. It's always been that way. It's that way today with all these phones and email and all that stuff, and it's going to be that way well into the future. It's about you as an individual. It's about communicating eyeball to eyeball, voice to voice. Always been that way, always has been. So there's an example of a big mistake that I make that almost was too costly to even put a price on, and I just went back to a guy and took advice and didn't try and reinvent the wheel. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, folks. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah,
you don't have to go learn the hard way.
No, if you've got big goals and you got big dreams, then you get into sales, you train yourself, you continually train yourself, you never stop training yourself, you keep working, you work hard, you work smart, and then you can imagine the day when all those, imagine the day you wake up and you're living in the house you want to live in. Imagine the day when you wake up beside the person you want to be with. Imagine the day you wake up with a great family, the cars and the drive, the vacations, and all the stuff that you want, the great religious life, spirit, social life, all that stuff. Imagine that day, because that's what the sales profession will deliver to you if you realize you're the silver bullet and you just communicate.
And stay consistent, folks. Jeff, I appreciate you coming out today.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate it.
Next time you're in town, feel free to stop by. We'll do just basic shooting the shit about the Indy 500 and the old growing up as Jeff Cowan.
I'll bring a bottle of Camus Select and we'll make it a deal.
Well, then you better be back in a couple of hours.
All right. Thanks.
Until next time, folks, go out and rate this podcast. I appreciate you guys helping me climb the ranks, staying at the top of the game. I appreciate it so much. Go out and rate it, review it, and share it. And as always, keep it real.